Brave New World is a cult novel often perceived as a classic dystopia. I'm sure many of us have read it or at least heard of it. It's one of the three foundational dystopias that shaped the genre and sparked countless discussions. And while there are no questions about Orwell's 1984 or Zamyatin's We, they perfectly deliver the agenda of a bad future, like vicious satirical caricatures of totalitarian regimes, and scare the hell out of you. Things don't quite add up with Brave New World. When I first read this book about 20 years ago, I wondered, why is this a dystopia? Why am I not afraid of this world, and why do I want to live there? With age, my doubts only grew stronger, and today I want to offer you a new interpretation where Brave New World lives up to its name. It's a genuine utopia. We won't evaluate the artistic qualities of this work. That's for literary scholars. Instead, let's look at this world from a psychologist's perspective. So let's begin. When we say utopia, we usually mean a society where people are happy, not just living in order, but truly satisfied with life without depression, anxiety, or the eternal longing for meaning. In this regard, Huxley's world is a pure utopia because happiness there has ceased to be a random luxury. It has become a guaranteed service. In Brave New World, no one hopes that things will someday get better. No, everything is already sorted out. From birth, you are genetically programmed and socially tailored so that you don't suffer, don't doubt, don't want what you're not supposed to, and take pleasure in what you have. This is a world where your happiness is part of the landscape. One of the criticisms of Brave New World is that people there have lost their individuality. But let's think about it. How much suffering in our world comes from not being like everyone else? Born in the wrong country? Couldn't measure up? In this world, you are born exactly as the person you'll be happy being. No envy, no guilt, no imposter syndrome. In this sense, happiness is the absence of the desire to be someone else. The society in Brave New World has eliminated the main problem of philosophy and psychology, the unpredictability of inner states. Happiness has become something you don't need to search for, earn, or understand. It's simply embedded in your psyche, like in an operating system. And if happiness is guaranteed, isn't that a utopia? The entire history of humanity is a chronicle of violence. Revolutions, genocides, tyrannies, fanatics, ideologies, crises, and civil wars. Now imagine a world where none of this exists anymore. No fights, no protests, no terrorists, no punitive agencies, no censorship, no military budgets, and no police batons. None at all. And not because someone intimidated everyone, but because no one wants to conflict. In Brave New World, society doesn't suppress aggression. It prevents it before birth, because you are born into the right caste, with the right mind and the right level of ambition. You don't dream of power if you're not an alpha, and you don't want to be an alpha if you're a gamma. At the same time, you have no inferiority complex because the idea that you should be higher never existed. Why fight for something when everything around you is for you, tailored to you, and about you? Envy is when you want something you don't have but someone else does. Now imagine a world with no envy because you don't want to be another person with another life. After all, yourself isn't a random lottery but a perfectly matched template where you're maximally satisfied with yourself. No strangers' Instagrams, no showing off, no reflections like, am I worse? Just a steady, I'm fine. No revolutions because there's nothing to fight for. In our world, the more ideals there are, the more reasons for violence. Freedom, equality, God, justice, progress, all these have been reasons to kill each other for centuries. In Brave New World, all these reasons are obsolete. No one shares them anymore. No one dies for an idea because everyone is satisfied. This is a post-conflict society where struggle no longer seems necessary to anyone, a new level of evolution where humans have become predictable enough not to kill their kind over abstractions. And if there are no conflicts, no crimes, and no envy, isn't that a utopia? In typical dystopias, people somehow don't work or only work creatively, for the soul in meadows with ponies. In this one, work remains but becomes maximally clear to each individual, so much so that you want to dissolve in it. The caste system is optimization. The key to the economy of Huxley's world is inequality that doesn't bother anyone. Why? because every person is biologically and psychologically tuned to the role they can fulfill. Alphas lead, betas serve, gammas, deltas, and epsilons do their simple work and take pleasure in it. No one wants to climb higher because no one feels deprived. How many neuroses in our world are tied to the feeling that you haven't achieved enough? In this world, no one stresses out and no one envies. Everyone works, and everyone is satisfied because work here isn't about career growth KPIs or pointless Zoom calls. It's a ritual of stability. Every day, a person does what they're suited for without stress or burnout. The main thing, they know why they work, to keep society functioning and to be happy. The caste system is the main scapegoat of any criticism of Brave New World. How can it be, they say, that people are grown in test tubes for their future roles? Some are alphas, others epsilons. No equality. But does equality even exist except in propaganda? Don't we have castes in our world? Don't children get born into poor or rich families with good or bad genes, with or without access to education? And what do they do then? They scramble through life, spending decades, energy, and nerves to become someone. It doesn't work out for everyone. For most, it never does. And all this for the idea of being someone you might not even want to be. In Brave New World, there are no overworked office employees with anxiety disorders. There are also no geniuses dreaming of greatness but drowning in obscurity. And no bored millionaires who don't know why they wake up. Every person is integrated into the economy like a part that perfectly fits in shape, temperament, and purpose. Isn't that what all economists and politicians dream of? Many readers took Huxley too literally, got scared, and have been chewing on that fear for decades, staring wistfully at screens and wondering, is this already Brave New World, or just the trailer? Culture? Well, it's just different there. None of those sufferings, artist torments, or jaded decadence. What's the point of watching some dreary tragedy when you can watch an awesome blockbuster with a happy ending and a vibrating massage right in the theater? People in Huxley's world don't live by the concept of to be or not to be, but by the concept of enjoy or enjoy. They set pleasant rhythms for you and suggest that you're wonderful and everything is wonderful, and then your whole life just confirms it. No, I get it. For some of us, if we're not screaming into a pillow at 3 a.m., it's already the start of a concentration camp. But still, most people choose what's easy, pleasant, and painless. So why pretend otherwise? One of the funniest paradoxes of Brave New World is that everyone there looks young, well-groomed, and full of energy. Seriously. A society where no one grows frail, dies of dementia, or looks in the mirror with disgust. Is this a dystopia we're supposed to fear? Yes, you have no joint pain, no gray hair, no fear of becoming a burden. Your body doesn't betray you. It remains your ally, not an enemy that issues a verdict with each passing year. In our reality, aging is essentially humiliation in installments, fatigue, illnesses, decay. You lose your body, then your mind, then your face, then yourself, and all this under the condescending pat on the shoulder from those around you who say, well, that's life. Bear it with dignity. But in Brave New World, none of that agony. You're beautiful, strong, and full of pleasures. Not forever, of course, but until a light, painless death. This isn't the fear of the future. It's the fulfillment of an ancient dream. And there it is, fulfilled. For everyone. If this is a dystopia, then sorry, where do I sign up? But why do so many people read this book as a dystopia? It's all about the unreliable narrator. Meet John the Savage, the main character of the novel, a product of a bygone era. He comes from a wild tribe and is alien to high-tech civilization. He quotes Shakespeare, suffers, flounders, rejects universal well-being, and ultimately takes his own life. And his position is presented as the moral center of the book. Here's a real human, feeling, suffering, free. What does John bring with him? Well, he believes that suffering is noble. His logic is a direct heir to Christian Stoic morality. Suffering purifies, choice is more important than comfort. and the artificial is evil. This is romanticism detached from reality. John is a philosophical virus created here to devalue any system. He infects not only the characters, he infects the reader. He shifts the question from what's good for a person to what's sublime and tragic. Why is he wrong? Because he doesn't offer a solution. He offers martyrdom. In a world where everyone is spared pain, hunger, and war, he suggests returning to pain, hunger, and war. Why? For the sake of an idea, for the purity of human nature, which he himself can't withstand. He can't bear his own humanism, breaks and dies. Now compare the entire system built in Brave New World holds, functions, and provides everyone with basic happiness, but John breaks himself and dies alone as a protest. His position is beautiful, but fatally unworkable. It's the aesthetics of suffering, not a blueprint for the future. In its natural form, happiness always looks pathetic next to the flowery embellishments of misery. And of course, stability is far less colorful than instability. And satisfaction is utterly devoid of the romance of battling cruel fate. There's no vibrant struggle with temptation here, no halo of fatal doubts and passions. Happiness lacks grandiose effects. Freedom is the sacred cow of humanism. For it, people start revolutions, starve, suffer, live in hell just to be free. In Brave New World, this idea is dissected to the bone. They removed freedom, and what? Did the world collapse? No. It only became more stable, happier, and cleaner. Freedom is an overrated myth, a liberal chewing gum that entire ministries of certain states keep pushing on us. People who believe in total freedom don't often become heroes. They become anxious, broken, and disoriented. And choice isn't always a blessing, especially if you have to make it every day between bad and worse. In Brave New World, everything is arranged to spare people the torment of meaningless choice. You don't choose a profession, but you love it. You don't worry about who to be, where to live, how to feed yourself, who to love, or what's the meaning. Everything is thought out for you. You just live and enjoy. You might have a counter-argument. How can you be happy if they made you an epsilon whose job is to take out the trash? Actually, you can. And an example comes to mind from the episode Zima Blue in the anthology Love, Death, and Robots. There, the main character was first a genius artist, then became a pool cleaner. Why? Because he found himself. And he did it ruthlessly. He killed his ego. That is, he turned off the higher brain centers responsible, among other things, for the sense of self-importance. That's a radical path to enlightenment. In Huxley's world, no one searches for themselves. You're already found from birth, and you have everything you need. The secret isn't in freedom, but in the alignment of desire with possibility. Often, we want to be free, but really, we want to be special, not like everyone else. But maybe true freedom is not being obsessed with freedom, and the real limitation is constantly thinking you're being limited. And speaking of limitations, what do they do with the dissatisfied, those who don't fit into society? Do they torture or execute them? Number. If you're unhappy, you can go to any island of your choice and enjoy socializing and sex with other nonconformists like you. Yes, 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 in this dystopia, the dissatisfied can live in places like Hawaii or the Bahamas. If tropical regions aren't your thing, you can choose Sardinia, Corsica, Crete as punishment. And for those who prefer rougher terrain, New Zealand tops the list. But whatever you choose, the society you rejected will support, feed, and clothe you, and you can live the life you find most suitable. You might say, oh, okay, you've convinced us, it's a utopia. But what about the fact that Huxley himself said this was a warning about a terrifying future where technology suppresses freedom and the depth of the human soul? Well, let's figure out who Huxley was and why he said that. Aldous Huxley was a typical representative of the British elite of the early 20th century. His family was full of renowned scientists, financiers, and Nobel laureates. He studied at Oxford, had all the material and intellectual benefits one could wish for. His world was a world of freedom, thoughts, books, art, endless discussions about spirituality and creativity, a world where you never have to toil to exhaustion, fight for a piece of bread, or worry about making it to payday. In this comfort and security, Huxley cultivated his idea of free will as the highest good. For him, the loss of freedom was a catastrophe equivalent to the death of the soul. And so this aristocrat, from the height of his privilege and prosperity, writes a book describing a world where stability and order are achieved at the cost of abandoning freedom. Free will is a great commodity if you have the time and resources to use it. If you don't have to drag your tired body to a hated job every day to survive, then you can indulge in philosophical quests and artistic floundering. But for millions of people living on the edge of poverty, freedom is a trinket it's almost embarrassing to think about. For them, it's far more important to have a guaranteed income, protection from disease, and a roof over their head than to search for meaning or suffer from existential anxieties. Huxley was an idealist, far removed from the reality of working-class neighborhoods. His fear of losing freedom was the fear of a man who was never frightened. In the novel, he complains about standardization, the control of human life. But for most people, let's be honest, life is daily stress and uncertainty. And they dream of stable work, the absence of hunger and cold, and the chance to sometimes just forget and relax, to get the simple pleasure that Huxley so despised. Imagine, a worker comes home after a third shift, and all they want is to collapse on the couch and rest. So they crack open a beer, turn on some Netflix, and there's a new trendy series, an adaptation of the dystopia Brave New World. And the show begins. Look, people without choice, happy and loving their jobs. They curse out loud as if personally robbed. What the hell is this? I want to be programmed like that, so I don't suffer, so I smile while standing at the machine, not wanting to die. Freedom? Damn, I'd love the freedom to sleep for a day instead of worrying about rent. You call a dystopia what I'm too ashamed to even dream about? Where everyone's in their place, working, enjoying, and not stressing about the future? They start cursing the showrunners, writers, and the whole crew. You should come to our shop. Yesterday, an intern was so into your series that the machine chopped off their finger. They light a cigarette and muse aloud. Yeah, all this Brave New World talk is for school kids. Sure, at 16 I was singing Bob Dylan songs in the stairwell demanding change, but grow up a bit and you think, maybe to hell with this freedom? I don't even know what to do with it. If only I could take all my thoughts and toss them in the dump, become a simple mechanism, enjoying routine work. The remote flies at the TV, shattering it to pieces. Here's your freedom, idiots! The irony is that Huxley's book is chewing gum for urban neurotics from a privileged intellectual incapable of grasping one simple fact. For many people, stability and comfort are far more important than teenage ideals. But the funniest part isn't even that. It's that Huxley himself didn't know what to do with his freedom. Let me explain what I mean. In the novel, he scares us all with a substance called Soma. In the book's lore, Soma isn't just a drug, it's the perfect anti-stress. No hangover, no side effects, and most importantly, no inner work. Feeling bad? Here's a pill and you're good. Well, the idea, frankly, isn't complicated. A critique of the narcotization of society and the clouding of minds. But fast forward 20 years and Huxley writes The Doors of Perception, where he enthusiastically recounts sitting in a chair under mescaline, drooling, and staring at trousers. By his account, the trousers became a revelation. He writes that he finally got closer to the true picture of the world and advises everyone to follow his example. So what's the difference? Why does he curse one drug and bless another? Why does he scare us with artificial happiness and then swallow chemical truth himself? He wrote that essay in the hippie era, and it had a huge influence on the youth of that time. Back then, many intellectuals were deluded, not even considering the grim reality that awaited those who took them seriously. The result: generations of lifelong addicts, pathetic acid freaks who dreamed they could buy freedom and enlightenment for $3 a dose. That's what Huxley's freedom is. Think about it. A grown, educated man who lived for decades never gave up hope that there's some door somewhere. And of course, you can only open it with a dose of drugs, and behind it will be the real knowledge, the real self, real peace. On November 22, 1963, the same day Kennedy was assassinated, Huxley died under LSD. He requested it himself. His whole life he oscillated between mysticism and science, humanism and technocracy, fear of losing the self, and the desire to dissolve the self completely. And in his final moments, he chose dissolution. A gram of Soma and no drama. And that's ironic, because he condemned the danger of simple solutions in Brave New World, criticized systems that offer happiness without searching, and recognized the illusoriness of ready-made paths. But he still dreamed of a shortcut, of a little hole in the curtain through which he could finally understand everything that intellect, culture, and religion couldn't give him. You could say he remained a child of the Enlightenment to the end, one who believed neither in God nor in people, but still hoped there was some mechanism to reach the real. And yes, it's funny, but also somehow humanly sad. So why should you read this supposedly scary story? Because Huxley, pretending to be a moralist, actually painted a secret fantasy, his own and that of millions of others. But he kept an alibi. A world where no one suffers, everyone's young, sex is scheduled, work is a joy, and religious dogmas don't keep you up at night, but you're supposed to be afraid of it. And in doing so, he accidentally cracked open a window into the very essence of human nature. It's not for nothing that half the reviews call it the greatest book of all time. Well, friends, thanks so much for spending time with me watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like button.